Oh, Joy, please introduce yourself. And Joy, we've touched on we've touched on what Joy will be talking about, but I think she's got more to talk to you about what actually happens in the homes, I think.
Yes. Hello, good afternoon, friends. My name is Joy Kyakwita. I am an immigration lawyer and I'm a senior social worker as well. So, thank you, dear. So I'm going to be sharing my experience and knowledge that I've acquired over the years. I've been a senior social worker for the past 7 years and a senior immigration lawyer for the last 15, 16 years. So I'll tell you what happens when you're an immigrant and you get involved in this kind of things, or maybe you're a parent and you have immigration problems and have the impact on your child, if they're involved in youth violence or knife crime, if you like. So I'm always good at answering questions as compared to making presentations, so I'm going to just give you like bullet points here. So I'm also a parent as well, so I also share that experience as a mother. My son is 16, my daughter is 13. So as parents, of course, we're the ones who are responsible for these children. You'll see your child changing and challenging you. And then a child comes back, a routine. Say, for example, your child comes home at around 3:30. Then all of a sudden is coming home at 4. Please don't take it for granted. Ask your child what kept you behind. Because those little changes, it means changing the routine in the pattern. So please ask your child, were you in a club? Because we know some after-school clubs, get to know what kind of clubs your child attends. So if your child comes back again, maybe every Tuesday they come home 30 minutes later, that's a pattern already. Please find out, what do you do on Tuesday? How come you come home 30 minutes later? And I know we work long hours. Please give your child a call. Are you home? I know we can't really expect, parents to be home during that time, but please call home. Are you home? Just to check. Don't take it for granted. Because you see, like for example, I get home at 6 o'clock. Can you imagine if I don't keep an eye, my child will actually come home just like 20 minutes before I get home. And you will not know what your child has been doing after 3:30. And that is a big time, that's a big, like from 3:30 to 5:30, that's a long time for your child to be groomed, And so don't take it for granted. If your child says, oh, I passed at my friend's house, please find out who that friend is, the parents. Get to know your friend's parents. Don't just leave it at, oh, they told me. The child will tell you I'm at somebody's house when actually they are somewhere else. Please. For me, my daughter, she's more sociable. I think girls love this kind of things more than the boys. Boys come right home to their gadgets, but girls want to spend more time with their friends. So when my daughter tells me, oh, can I pass at, the other person's house? I'm like, I need to talk to their mom first. You don't just pass over. So you would say I'm a control freak, if you like, but I would rather know that you don't just pass over. And the same thing, I don't expect my daughter to just pass over with a friend at our house. So I get to know my children's parents as a way of putting a network around our children. And of course, it makes my daughter not very available, because their friends, I tell my daughter, don't tell them I'm a social worker because they run away from you. Because when the other parents discover that you're a social worker, they think maybe you're going to be spying on them. No, it actually makes our children safer, because I will tell you, what, if the child is coming over, you need to give me a call. I need to give you a call. And by doing that, you're putting a net around your children. Before you know it, it falls in place effortlessly. You won't have to worry. And your child will text you to say, Mom, can I do this? Mom, I'm here. Those kind of things. Oh, Dad as well. You guys have to recognize you as well. So, but we know that children tend to talk to their moms more when they want to go and see their friends. So please, dads, be available. Talk to your children, find out their routine, get to know your child's routine. So why am I saying this? I'm trying to tell you that be available for your child, get to know their routines and their movement. Now, if a child comes home with a new shoe, please don't say, oh, their friend gave them a present. There are no presents out there. There are no presents, believe me. If they come with trainers of 50 pounds, you always buy them 30 pounds, find out who gave you those trainers. Don't accept presents in your house. If your child comes home with takeaway, find out why you're buying takeaway, who has bought you takeaway. Those little things, people who groom our children, they actually near chicken and chips shops. And I can tell you a child can be groomed for food. You may not believe it, but it is happening. Somebody would say, oh, do you want a burger? And of course, at 3 o'clock, everybody wants a burger after school. So the child is going to say yes. Then next time they say, oh, actually, I can even buy you a drink. The next time, oh, can you do me a favor? Can you just take this little bag to that person there in that shop? And then that little favor gets into something. Then next time they will say, actually, I want to just get on this bus and take it to the other bus stop. Somebody will be waiting. Because now they are friends, in quotes. The child has got used to this stranger who has now become a friend. The child is coming home 30 minutes, next time to be 1 hour. The child is busy with somebody else out there. So when the child goes, I think that one of the police officers mentioned, they will give the child a parcel. Then they said, take it 2 bus stops from here. Then actually, they rob that child. They take that parcel away. Then they will say, oh my God, what happened? And the child will be actually crying, saying, somebody took it. And they will say, that had a lot of money. You are now in trouble. And then they start scaring your child. Before you know it, they say, okay, but you know, I know you don't have the money. You can do something for me to pay it back. Can you please be delivering these things for me? Those are drugs. There is nothing good in that. They might give you something fake the first time to test whether you can deliver, but the second delivery is going to be like drugs. And like you heard the police, of course, you are carrying drugs. That is a crime. And actually somebody else may be watching you. They will actually beat you up and take those drugs. They can actually harm you in the end. Before you know it, you are involved in a big thing. So please don't do favors to strangers. Let nobody send you to tell you, oh, I can buy you something, I can buy you a pair of trainers, pair of, tracksuit, Please don't fall for those things. Be patient with your parents. Be happy with the little they give you. You will get these things as you grow up. In fact, you'll make your own money and buy them. The pressure is too much. Sometimes our parents don't have the money to buy those things that you want, but they're trying to keep you safe. Please, young people, don't fall for those things. They are not free. They come with conditions. I especially with looked after children. That's why I'm so passionate about young people. Because young people are so full of ideas. You can see the changes. You help them to bring in place as young people. So I'm telling you from my experience, and that I really want young people to do well. Now, going back to the youth violence, the knife crime, which our Auntie Maureen has called us talk about today. You are at risk as a victim and also as a perpetrator. They have talked to you already. If you carry, Auntie Joanne, talked about if you carry a knife, it's going to be used. Now, the person who is attacking you will know that you are armed. And if you're armed, it means I either stab you or you stab me. And I've got so many of my young people have been stabbed and they have stabbed other people. So I'm telling you again from experience. And so the moment you carry a knife, just know you've crossed the red line. You're going to be stabbed or you're going to stab somebody. And for me, you're all children. It means you're already a victim. The fact that you're going to end up in prison, you're going to, can you imagine how your family is going to feel when you get arrested and all these things happen? You've just literally, Auntie Joanna was just talking about you guys becoming all these big people we want you to become. All of a sudden, your life is destroyed because you're going to prison. And then your family, so everybody is affected when one of you gets in trouble, whether by stabbing another young person or you yourself being stabbed. So, don't carry the knife. It's a criminal offense. The police officer here said actually it's 4 years in prison. And you're always going to struggle to get into employment. So please, you don't want to waste your life and then you turn 18 when you can't get into employment. What's the purpose? Then your life becomes hopeless. Then you end up actually going the wrong way because no employer wants to take you because they think you haven't actually left whatever got you into that situation in the first place. Now, I'll tell you why young people, for example, okay, how do we tell? Maybe the parents will be saying, how do you tell that your child is actually involved or being groomed? I talked about new clothes, gifts that you can't explain. I'm not saying your children shouldn't get gifts, but find out who bought it, who gave them. Be curious about your children. Don't just take it for granted. We get parents who hardly go into their children's bedrooms. Please, these are still children. They are still children. They don't know what to do. They don't know. I know young people know everything. Like Benji, it's called Benji. Benji said they think they know it all. Our young people think they know it all, but actually they don't because they are children. So please, I want to tell you, parents, go to your children's bedrooms when they're not there. I know you're not going to like these young people because you're saying you are sneaking into my room. Parents, please sneak. They don't pay rent. This is your house. This is your house. You're paying the mortgage. You're paying the rent. You have the right to enter. You see that? Yeah, and search. You have the right to enter and search. You see? So please, when they have gone to school, go there, go under the beds, check everywhere. I'm telling you this. And please make sure it's neat and tidy. Don't mess up their rooms after you have done the search. Okay? This is to keep you safe. Because I have a young person who was keeping drugs under their bed and their mom had no clue. It's the police that came and mom was in shock. Because police got a tip-off and they came and mom said, oh my God. You know, she was in denial. Because, you know. Yes, I said, no, my child doesn't even take drugs, and it's true. This boy wasn't taking drugs but was supplying. So please, young people, your parents are going to check your beds. Don't hide things under there. They will check everywhere. As a matter of fact, you don't pay rent. You are still children. They need to check to keep you safe. Because you know what? If something happens to you, they would have let you down. For me, as a social worker, I blame parents. You know, social workers blame parents, isn't it? So our children are good. Children are good, you know, in the eyes of social workers. It's the parents that we blame. Why? Because you have a duty. You have a duty to check under their beds, in their wardrobes or whatever. Be their friends. Talk to your children. Let them feel comfortable to talk to you about these things. I'm not saying that you go and, you know, terrorize your children, tell them, you open the door, I need to see. Again, they will call social services if you do that. So, and then we shall side with the children. So please, please, be your children's friends. Talk about these things on Friday night. Make time for your children. Friday night, have a conversation. When we call, myself, I'm a lawyer, my husband is a lawyer as well. So when we call our children, my husband is like, what have we done? What have we done? You know, it's funny because they think there is something going on. They want to know, why have you called us? And sometimes we say, yes, something has happened. And yes, we want to just catch up. Let the children get to know it's okay to talk about things. Normalize these conversations. And tell them about things. Be curious. Children hear things because their friends talk to them. They spend more time with their friends than us. Let's accept that. Children need their friends more than they need parents, according to them. All they need is our money and food. The rest, they want their friends, isn't it, guys? So what we do, let's get to know their friends. Let's be interested in them, their parents as well. And I'm telling you, when our children get to know that we're interested in their friends, actually they feel better. When they know you're not judging them, allow them to make mistakes and talk about them. Don't scare them because they don't know what to do, what is going on. And the peer pressure, bless our children, the peer pressure out there on social media and everything is going on. You know, we are so lucky we didn't have to deal with all that. So we empathize with our children, but be there and reassure them. You know, these little things, you know, that are magnified online and everything. You know, try to control, again, gadget time. You're going to fight it out, guys. Help us to help you, young people. Gadgets have to be handed over at 10 o'clock latest. Any child who is online after 10 is going to struggle in the morning. There is no way you can wake up ready to learn. And if you wake up not ready to learn, it means you're not going to achieve. You're not going to get on apprenticeships and all those other things you're looking forward to because you are tired. You go to school, you are edgy because you've been playing those violent games the whole night, so the head is so cocked up, you know, because you've been, you know, just so active the whole night. So when we say it's not healthy, hand over your gadgets at 10 o'clock, switch off. Don't sleep with the gadgets apart from your alarm in your bedrooms. I know most of you youth are going to be like, no, I need my phone next to me. In fact, we are attached, you know. Please don't sleep with with your phone in your bedroom. It's so tempting to, you know, to get online. Step by step, you can say on Tuesdays, the phone goes down, you know. Okay, maybe in mom's bedroom or daddy's bedroom, see. Try not get up, because most of the pressure comes from those phones and online. If you are not, get a book to read. Reading sometimes is boring, but I'm telling you it's the safest game you can ever have. Because one, you have shut down the whole system. It means you're not engaging with other people. I always tell my daughter, at 10 o'clock, I don't want a child. A good child is in bed at 10 o'clock. Because I also need my time. I don't want to be engaging with young people after 10 unless something is going on. So just practice being in the safe place at the right time. And being in bed at 10 o'clock is very safe. And it means tomorrow you're going to have enough time to go to class when you're ready to learn. Now, if a child comes I always have like 18 children. As a corporate parent, as a social worker, I have like 18 children. And most of my children are aged between 14 and 17. So these are youth. When a young person, and I'm very observant, when a young person has like a scratch on their face, I don't just say, oh, did you fall? I just say, oh my God, this must be so painful. What happened? Because my young people have a relationship with me. So sometimes actually that is not just a normal scratch. Somebody has marked your young person, or somebody has marked you, because you are now, that's part of the grooming. They will know who you are using that mark on your face. Yes, as simple as that. Yes, as simple as that. A little scratch, find out how it was sustained. Now, you parents who just say, are you okay? When the child is up there, you need to see the child in the face. And then you'll start seeing your child putting on a hoodie and putting on long sleeves only. You need to see your child's arms. And for the young people, I know you've heard about these things. A young person will have even like a stab knife. And you will not know because the child has a hoodie and all these the jackets in the house. You need to see your child's body. I'm not saying go and undress your children, but I need to see at least your arms, you see, because that's where the marks are always left. For example, if a child goes to deliver drugs and maybe something happens, they can easily like stab them just on the side there. And remember, they never go to the hospital because they tell them if you go to the hospital, you're going to report to call the police. Because if you guys don't know, I'm telling you, because for me, I'm for you guys. If you have a knife injury and you go to the doctor, they're going to call the police. So I'm telling you so you know how it works. I'm not snitching. I'm telling you so you know. If you have a stab knife, they're going to call the police. And some of my young people, when they have been taken to the hospital, by the way, they only go because they feel they are dying. Most of the time, they are going to avoid going to the hospital because they know that most people in the gangs, they know how it works. So they will tell you, don't see the doctor, because if you see the doctor, they're going to call the police. So when they go, they really feel they're going to die. And usually when they go, they're going to lie about how they sustained this injury. But we are trained to how to tell injuries, like a knife and a fall and all those things. We can tell. And doctors are even more trained than us. So they will know. So guys, what we're trying to tell you is that keep yourself safe, and for the parents, look out for these injuries. And sometimes it's self-harming. For example, a child is so depressed because he's found himself in a situation where they can't go back, they can't move forward because they're in the middle of this gang. Now, they will start self-harming by cutting themselves. And this is when now mental health, what now it goes under mental health. So again, like when I say, please, look at your children. If, for example, a boy who has been putting on, those t-shirts, starts putting on hoodies all the time, don't say it's a change of style. It's not. There is something going on, especially if the house is warm. It's not very cold. Why is your child putting on a hoodie in the house? Find out, and you can just be friendly and say, oh, can you just turn on the heating and remove that coat, in the house? They're hiding something, either in the pocket or on the body. Be curious, get to know your children and know when they're changing. Now, there is help available. Okay, I think somebody talked about, when we were done with the police, some young person was asking, apart from the knives, what other problems are there? I think something like that. We have what we call child sexual exploitation. We have what we call child criminal exploitation. So, for example, you may fall in love with a boy, and this boy is madly in love with you. He's getting money from somewhere to give it to you. Of course, this guy doesn't have money, but he's giving you all these presents. And then, before you know it, they introduce you maybe to cannabis, and cannabis is addictive and very expensive. Then you can't afford it. Then you are now hooked because they'll start giving you that cannabis in exchange for sex or whatever. Now, before you know it, they take you for group sex. Before you know it, they're taking you around the country. And because you are girls, they're likely not to stop you because we know police only stop boys, isn't it? But I'm telling you this so you know that it's much easier to exploit the girls, because we've been talking about boys mainly, so I don't want I want parents to know that your girls are also at risk, and we get them as well. So if your girl comes home, I know the makeup and everything and all that, You be curious. Tell them they're beautiful and everything, but be curious. It's possible, actually, that girl is presenting in a very sexualized behavior because actually a lot of things are going on out there. Define what is appropriate for your children. Because these are personal, I'm not going to tell you what's appropriate, but you know what's appropriate according to your values as a family. When you see they're getting out of order, find out why. I'm telling you that most of the time girls are passed on for sexual activities, which we call child sexual exploitation. Also, they're used to, encounter lines because it's much easier to stop the boys. So now the gangs are using girls to supply drugs across the country. Now, your girl leaves home in the morning, on time, and maybe you leave home before them, or maybe most of us most of the time children leave home before us, you see. And then the attendance at school is very poor. Find out, where does your child go? Because she's never been sick. So you must be wondering, where does the child go? You'll find that actually those little girls, they go in the uniform, they go to the bathrooms, change into other clothes, and then they start moving around in cars, in Uber sometimes, moving across the country, supplying drugs. And by the time you discover this child actually has really got in the middle of it, they are too scared because they are already threatened. So they are scared to leave, or they are planning to join because their friends have joined, or they want to leave but they don't know how to. Now, I want to tell you that it's very scary, and you're not going to do it on your own. When a child is involved in youth violence and drugs, you need social services, because we are trained, we have access to help. You need to actually approach social services. You're not going to be reporting your child or trying to feel embarrassed that you're a bad parent. A good parent is the one who asks for help. And we know that our parents are struggling because of the pressure in the community. Please ask for help. Most of the time we get referrals from the schools, because when a school picks up something and they're suspicious, they're going to let us know without even telling you. So most of the time we get to know because the school has reported. If your child has bad school attendance, please get concerned. It's not about the fact that the school is getting concerned and it's too much, they don't understand. No. When your child is leaving home to go to school and their attendance is not good, please get concerned, because your child is going somewhere else. And we don't know, because the school doesn't know, you don't know, somebody else knows where your child is. Don't just say, oh, they just don't want to study. Of course, we get families where you can look 2 generations behind and nobody has gone to GCSEs. We get worried because we are trying to make a change for this family. So please, attend all your parents' evenings, find out about attendance, find out about punctuality, because some children go and report in the morning, so they take them as present, then they don't come back after lunch because they are busy with somebody else. So while we are very busy, somebody else is busy with our children. Please make time for them. I will just say something again, about, what kind of help is there. The first, for us, we don't work in isolation. We work with the police, we work with the neighborhood watch, we work with the hospitals, and that's why I think it's good for you guys to report social services. A child can also come by the social services as well. So we have even most of our children, for example, if your child doesn't come home, have a curfew. Most parents have a curfew. They will say you must be home by this time. For example, for bigger children, I realize most of our children here are quite young when I was in that meeting there. But you see, they have older ones.
Parents didn't come.
Oh.
Record that.
Yeah. So for the bigger children, because they go to college and then they get activities, find out. For college children, what time do they come back and their activities? And please, children, get in touch. Even when your bus, leaves you, please get in touch, because your parents should know that you're running late because of the bus or because something is happening. Help your parents to help you. Say, for example, if for example, you are meeting out with friends, what kind of activities are you doing? Parents need to know what kind of activities your children do after school, because if they're meeting in somebody else's house to get on video games, for me, I don't think that's a good thing. You need to find out. And if your son or your daughter is always saying, I'm going for sleepover, I'm against sleepovers as a mom, but I'm telling you, find out what they do when they go for sleepover. For example, my looked after children, a child would tell you, I'm going to my friend's house. And guess what? Then they go clubbing. Before you know it, something happened when they were clubbing. And then according to your permission, they were supposed to be in some other place. So I always tell my young people, I need to know where you will be so I know when to worry. So please, if your child says he's going to sleep over, find out from the other parent if it's true they're going to sleep over. And let that parent know, if my child is there, the latest they can be out is 10 o'clock. Because what we don't want is for them to think, when I sleep at Roger's house, we come back at midnight. Because your curfew time should be consistent for, wherever they are. And be consistent. And also, what we know is that children want to do well. We always tell parents, no child wakes up and says, I want to be a devil today. Children want to do well, things just don't go well. Sometimes they're trying out something new, and sometimes the peer pressure, and sometimes they have learning needs, and our young people with learning needs can easily be influenced. So that's when you need to be there as a parent. Maybe I can take some questions at this level. Yes, please.
I'll start with the question.
Yes.
You asked about the children. We've got parents here who are struggling with their children, especially the youth. Those parents didn't turn up. You go and tell them, Maureen said, why did you turn up? Now, my question is, how do we do community parenting? Because we've got parents whose kids are being naughty out there on the streets. You dare go and tell the parent that, oh, I saw your Joe smoking something. That parent will go against you. So how do we as a community deal with that, community parenting?
Okay. Thank you very much, Maureen. For me, we believe as social workers, we believe that the safest place for children is school. And so if you report to the teacher, you are more likely to get better results if the parent is not engaging. Because, for example, sometimes parents do drugs. Most of our children who come in care, their parents are doing drugs. So if you say, I found your child smoking cannabis is like a cup of tea in their house. They don't see a big deal. So what you do, it is true. So what you do, let the school know. If you let the school know, the school let social services know. And for us, when you see social services, you'd rather see the police. You see that? Because when we come, it's because there is information. And then when we come in, most of the time, they will know that if you don't change, the child is going to be taken away or something is going to happen. Because we are trained to intervene. In fact, we've seen actually some neighbors who have attacked other neighbors for calling the police or for tipping off social services. So while you are sharing information, don't put yourself at risk as well. Yeah. But I would rather let the school know, because children spend more time in school than any other place. So they will keep an eye. We have what we call the designated teachers in every school. So they will keep an eye on this child. They will look at the attendance, the performance, and all that. And then if the school is worried, they will raise it with social services. And then when we get in, we do what we call mapping. Children don't do things on their own. That's a good thing about children. They love teamwork, So you'll always find who else is involved. And that's a good thing. There are very few children who do bad things on their own. And for me, that is why it is much easier to work with them. Because if we get a tip-off and say, oh, maybe, Joe is doing this, we shall find out who is a friend of Joe. And then the background, we even check with the GP. We get all that information and what we call sharing of information. And before we know it, we shall find out mother attended with an injury. Then we know there's violence going on in the background. Or maybe mom came when was intoxicated. And then we find out all that. So when it comes to youth violence and also drugs, we need what we call multi-agency intervention. You can't do it on your own. And usually we are the ones who are in charge of mobilizing that multi-agency intervention. Parents, you not do it on your own. When your child is involved in gangs and county lines or drugs, you're not going to do it on your own. And you're not going to be selling your child by asking for help. You'll be helping them.
As I said in the beginning, I'm a housing profession. I work with you guys in a MASH hub. And I get involved when children are getting removed from families, because housing has to come in to know who is on the tenancy, whose house is the private house, is it a council house, is it a housing association. We get to know all that. So that is when housing comes in, because we may wonder, how does housing factor into an issue of a child being removed and all this. We always have to chip in, and every morning when I'm ragging cases, when we go into that MASH meeting in the morning to rag cases, during the term time, that's when when they're in school, yeah? That's when we get the referrals. Most of the referrals come when it's term time. That means, that's what Joy just talked about, that teachers see more because referrals come from the schools. When it's holidays, you can barely see anything because in their homes, parents are not picking up anything. Nobody is interested. So we only get these referrals when children are in school because most of the referrals come from the school. So-and-so turned up with unkempt hair, or he disclosed to the teacher that this is what is happening. And then that's when, what Joy said, it goes to other professionals to dig in. And then some of the things that we pick up now, this business of not paying rent is an issue. When we run a search and we realize you're on housing benefits or you're receiving universal credit, and then vis-a-vis your rent account, we realize you're building up arrears, that's an issue for social services. Why is dad not paying the rent? They are receiving the money. Yeah? One, either you're dealing in drugs or spending money somewhere, you're leaving the children at risk, and they are not getting their money, a fair share of what they're supposed to get, hence going to somewhere else to get the trainers that Joy is talking about. These are the issues. It sends a bad signal. And once the children realize that as a family you are into a mess, you can't even sustain your own tenancies, you can't even run a home, they will not trust you as a parent. I'm telling you, they're not going to trust you. There's a way they will look at you. You're not going to be a role model for your kids because they will seek partners elsewhere and they will think, after yes, these are the things that I'm sorry, I talk about this because I've opted to work in the area I live in because of such things. Because you think, I don't want this, it can be a case that involves my own people. Yeah, I don't want to be the one talking about Frank's issue in my case. So I opted to go far away because these things, and by the way, when one of the issues that come, child neglect, that have picked up on child neglect, especially children left unattended to, when the referrals come, because we look at this data at the safeguarding board, look at this data at the end of the year. Children from our own background are the ones that suffer that. Guys, we have been picked on. It is us that take the risk mainly to leave the children in that. Our counterparts from the Asian community, somewhere, somehow, they are in the third generation, because these kids of ours, they are the second generation. We are the first people to come, they are the second generation. At least our counterparts are getting rid of that because they've got grandmothers around, they can have the support to protect the kids. Us, we are still struggling. You will wonder why they have been able, it's again, to see more of Asian community now. They are breaking through the ceiling. They are now prime ministers because they are doing things differently. We also have to begin.
That's right.
Yeah, I think the issue is role models, and I think we had this said in so many cases that if our young people do not have persons that look like them they look up to, and yet they will pick the wrong person to look up to. If it's the drug dealer that is giving them the image of identity, they will associate with them. So we need to create platforms where we have mentorships, where we have these conversations. Even the young parents that you said who didn't come, I think there's still going to be a lot of drumming we have to do to have this conversation to be heard as a must. Since now we are hearing about knife crime, let's talk about it until when everybody hears about it. Because if we tone down and play the victim, run around in circles thinking because I'm black, because I'm from this background, we can't make excuses anymore. It's just enough.
Thank you very much. Very, very small thing. I want to add on to something that Madame Joy was talking about, drugs. Like I said earlier on, I've seen it all. With my 17, 16 years, I've seen it all with young people. Young people, can I have your attention, please, guys? Can you please look at me, young people? I want to tell you something now from experience because I've seen it. Drugs these days, you can end up being involved in drugs without actually realizing that you're being involved in drugs. Someone doesn't have to hand you cannabis or a roll of weed. Now, they're giving out cookies to young people, gummies, biscuits. We had a case in college about 2 weeks ago. There's a young girl, she was saying, I make cupcakes at home. She was baking the cupcakes at home in her mother's house. Guess what was in the cupcakes? Weed. Hard drugs. She was selling the cupcakes at school. We didn't even know. We didn't know as teachers. We didn't know until we had 3 teenagers pass out. It was a case of, okay, what have they eaten? Yes. You need to be careful. Before you accept something from someone, just know. Someone, it was my birthday. Do you want to try this cake? What's in the cake? What was mixed in the water? What was mixed in the milk? You need to be careful because drugs are out there. Does that make sense? You need to be very, very careful. Gone are the days, keep this for me. No, can you taste this cake? It's going to make you feel good. Does that make sense? So please, please be very, very careful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Joanne. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. So as I just finish up, just to say about apprenticeships, myself, I went to Makerere University, I did my law degree from there, then I went to Kingston University, I did masters in law, and again I did a masters in social work. So Auntie Joanna, you will say I'm pro-university a lot, isn't it? But like we said, when I was in P4, or year 4 if you like, I wanted to be a lawyer. And then in 2015, I went back to do masters in social work. Now, I'm telling you, I'm a social worker right now. You can always change along the way. And sometimes, yes, you go to uni because your parents told you to study a certain course because that's their dream. But again, I also know that if you are not motivated, you're not going to enjoy it as well. But again, I don't want to say all of you go for apprenticeship because there are some jobs which still require degrees. So please, if your parents have money, please parents work hard. Let's make sure our children don't end up with a big debt which puts them off from going to uni. Uni is a good thing, you see. Yes, university is not for everybody, but there are certain jobs which require you to have a degree. And we know that most of the time, these jobs attract bigger money. Let's be honest with it, yeah? So please go for apprenticeship if you have to, or if there is, because we were seeing the list, you may not actually get what you want on the list of apprenticeship. So always be open to that. If you're academic, please go to university. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, Joy.